What's up, guys? Southbayspike here, bringing something new to the channel this week. I recently went out for a birthday outing to see a performance of The Evil Dead the Musical. So this is going to be a review of that show, that script, and what I think about it. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and I've been watching those movies since I was a kid. The Evil Dead series is my favorite horror franchise. So those of you who don't know what The Evil Dead is about or anything about it, it's a fun, if you like horror, it's a fun movie about a guy named Ashley Williams. They call him Ash. His sister, his best friend, and his best friend's girlfriend go out to a cabin and they find a tape recorder and a book, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, or the Book of the Dead. Although in the first film, the book was not called the Necronomicon, it had another name.
It is entitled Naturon de Manto, roughly translated Book of the Dead.
They also find this Kandarian dagger. The professor on the tape is reading the phonetic passages from the Book of the Dead. Kanda. When he reads the passages, he unleashes evil into the forest, evil all over the place, chaos ensues, whatnot. But you don't get to see that part. You only find out that the cabin is empty. Those young adults are there to have a good time. They stupidly decide to listen to the tape. So when they hear the recording of these phonetic pronunciations of the passages from the Book of the Dead, it brings the evil back into the forest, bringing the trees alive and all kinds of craziness. So Ash's sister gets possessed after getting raped by the forest. Pretty graphic, pretty crazy. They end up having to lock her in the cellar. And then everybody else ends up getting picked off one by one by the evil in the forest, turning them into the undead, or deadites, we later find out they're called. The conclusion of the first film leaves it open for the second film. What happens is Ash has destroyed everybody who has fallen prey to the evil. He burns the Book of the Dead and wanders out into the forest, and the evil comes out of the forest and hits him. Screen goes black, credits roll, and that's the end of the first film.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
Second film starts off with a little backstory about the Book of the Dead. So that's when we find out that the Book of the Dead is covered in human flesh, inked in human blood, and yeah, all these crazy Kandarian messages, incantations on how to raise the dead or do all kinds of spells or whatnot, right? In the second film, the daughter of the cabin owners, the professor that's originally heard on the tape, she's coming back to the cabin to show her father the things that she has found in these caves that have to do with the Book of the Dead. And they're looking to complete the book, complete these passages, and have this kind of historical find, right? She shows up with two people that help her to the cabin. One's with her fiance, boyfriend, something, I don't know. It's not really clear exactly what his relationship, other than maybe lovers, something, I don't know. they meet up with two kind of hillbilly-ish characters who show them a path because the bridge has been destroyed, which is why Ash and everybody could not leave in the first film, right? So they end up at the cabin where Ash is now all alone, having beheaded his girlfriend, and her body comes after him with a chainsaw, and he ends up dicing her up into itty-bitty bits. So when the professor's daughter shows up with all these people, now you have Ash, a bunch of people in the cabin. That's why a lot of people think the second film is actually a remake of the first film, when really it isn't. It's a continuation, and you can link the films together and see that continuity, even though there are some things that are mirrored from the first one. For example, the hillbilly girlfriend, Bobby Joe, she gets attacked by the trees, much like Ash's sister gets attacked by the trees, right? So it's a little bit redundant. When I was in high school, I was able to link all three of the movies together. My cousin used to watch it over and over and over again. We had this whole like Mystery Science 3000 theater commentary to the whole thing way back then. So it was really, really fun, and I became much more of a fan just by doing that and watching it cohesively as one long film. The second film concludes with the new pages of the Book of the Dead being recited, making evil flesh, and then the remainder of the recitation pulls the evil through a vortex, through a portal, into another dimension from where it came. And Ash ends up getting sucked out into it with the evil, and he ends up in the medieval times, kills some demon, and ends up getting praised for it. Evil Dead 3, which was originally supposed to be called The Medieval Dead, which I thought would have been great. Like, why not keep that title? What the... They ended up with the title Army of Darkness, right, as you can see on my shirt right here. The third film is more of a comedy than anything. I always called it a scomedy, scary comedy, right? And but it's still fun anyway. It's very enjoyable. I like it. And that's Army of Darkness. Let's talk about the musical. The run of the show is basically Act 1 is the first film, Act 2 is the second film. The musical took a heavy comedic approach to the material, much like the third film, and was very aware of itself, made fun of itself, and for someone like me, was very, very enjoyable. A good example of how it makes fun of itself is the hillbilly character in the musical is met alone in the forest. And he even mentions that normally he wouldn't be out in the forest all by himself, right? And then he alludes to the fact that had he brought his girlfriend along, it would have seemed redundant in the story, right? So mirroring a lot of fans' kind of jokes about the two films and why some people think the two films are, or the second film is just a remake of the first one. Unfortunately, I misplaced the program for the show before I recorded my video. So when I reference the actors who are playing the parts in the show, I'm only going to be using their first names. If you want to see a full breakdown of the full cast of the production that I went to go see, go to the Facebook page of Young Artists Forever. They will have a link on there that you can see pictures and things like that from the performance. I believe they even have a video of maybe during the rehearsal process. Guys, go ahead and check it out and throw some support their way. The part of Ash was played by a guy named Matt, and his approach to Ash was mix of kind of a cartoonish hero, you know, like, hey, everybody, you know, throwing out his voice, chest out, and he's going to do everything right, right? But then he also had this level of wimpiness to him. One thing that kept making me laugh was after he cut his hand off and somebody would like bump into it or touch it, he'd let out this like cry or scream, right? Every time it happened, I got a great laugh out of it. The actor who played Ash's best friend Scotty's name is AJ. And his approach, well, the way his character was written was very different from the film. In the film, it's pretty straightforward. He's just a guy that's there and things are happening and he gets possessed, yada, 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 right? Well, in the show, the approach they took to Scotty is that he's like a sex-crazed teenage, you know, maniac just there to have sex with this girl that he just met. The part of Shelley was played by Catherine. And Shelley is Scott's object of lust. Not like the movie. In the movie, Shelley is Scotty's girlfriend and they're, you know, in a long relationship, you know. But in the musical, they played with that relationship a lot. And her character was made into kind of a dumb bimbo, if you will, that kind of character archetype. She played that part very, very well, which, by the way, is not an easy thing to do. The part of Ash's sister Cheryl was played by an actress named Francesca. I can't imagine spending pretty much the whole show being locked in a cellar. The character of Linda was played by an actress named Maggie. The approach to her character in this show reminded me a lot of kind of like a camp counselor in an 80s film. The character of the professor's daughter's name is Annie and was played by Alyssa. A lot of funny stuff going on with the ripped clothes throughout the film. Her character keeps getting her clothes ripped, right? And so, oh, my sleeve is ripped off. Oh, look what you've done to my shirt, right? Her love interest, whose name was Ed, the boyfriend, fiance, or whatever. The way they approached his character was kind of funny because in the film, dude does not have any lines, really, not much at all. And so in the musical, she's constantly interrupting him. He can't get a word edgewise. After he gets possessed, he has a big number. All is remedied, right? Part of why I liked the script was a lot of the references that true fans of the film would get. One of the funnest parts about seeing this musical is the option of the splatter zone. As zombies or deadites are getting murdered, there's blood spraying all over the place. So would I suggest that you go see The Evil Dead? Might as well go check it out and have a good time anyway. Go into the splatter zone. What have you got to lose? Wear something white. Take something home to remember it by, right? You're gonna laugh, you're gonna have a good time. Just go check it out, you guys. Thanks for coming and checking out Southbayspike's first musical theater review of The Evil Dead, the musical. I had fun. I hope you guys can find a production near you and go check it out, guys.